There's hardly anybody in the world gets by without having some sort of an accident somewhere. That's what it's all about, isn't it? This discomfort. Some sort of another.
It certainly stops you in your tracks, doesn't it?
If it isn't the body, it's your mind or your emotions or something.
Yeah.
Of them all, the body's the best. You can deal with them. Like curtail activity for a bit, but you can still deal with them. But it's emotional and mental things, they take a bit more time. Are there any things he's talking about tonight?
Yeah, I was just sitting at home, and I had an image of a long line of beings.
Oh yeah.
But it was as though it was thousands of them.
There could well be, yeah.
All in a
continual stream, as you might say.
Yeah.
Yes. All in single file.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I felt that there was a hierarchical and developmental stage from one to the next to the next.
That could well be, yes, it could well be, yeah. It's a further evolution, as you might say, taking place. It's sort of quietly moving along, individually as such, because that's where it happens. And they reach a point where they change to the next strand, and then they change again, and then change again, so you get a hierarchy building up as you go along.
Yeah.
But really, it's what's happening in everyday life. From being a bit dull to becoming a little brighter, as you might say.
Yes.
It's only learning knowledge.
Yes.
The same thing would apply. And you might say a whole string of pilgrims.
Yes.
Very much so.
Looks like.
They do become aware of them, it's fact.
I've been noticing a different quality in the sense of well-being and warmth within. I've been sort of pondering, when Paul talks about his teacher sort of thing. It's a different approach from what is done here. And I was trying to sort of resolve that difference.
That's right, why not?
And somehow they seem to be quite sort of complementary.
That's right.
And somehow it's changed the sense of that sense of warmth and well-being within me.
Does that affect your attitude in thinking, emotion?
Yes, it does.
It does, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
There's a sort of a sense that with that feeling of well-being that we develop here, that anything in the outside world or at whatever level can be revealed.
Oh yes, it does, because it's already there to be revealed.
Yes.
This is the nurturing, loving aspect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unless you start to endeavour to have a bit of well-being, you will never find it.
Yes.
Because
Right.
one thing leads to the other. The sort of shades of blue, as you might say.
Yes.
Or shades of whatever the case may be, so the lighter to get heavier and heavier.
Yes.
And of course it alters your manner of thought in every way, insofar as you become much more tolerant.
Yeah.
in many ways. You accept things which otherwise you'd condemn.
Yes.
But now you accept, okay, leave be. It's surprising, isn't it? Gradually your mind you don't make judgments anymore. Gradually you find they're fading away and accept things as they are, knowing full well, this is the way the conditions are brought about, not the individual. And the conditions produce the individual.
Yes.
Not the individual qualification, the conditions, it's the other way around. So there's a degree of tolerance which leads to a bit of inner appreciation rather than understanding, isn't it? Do you feel comfortable with it?
Yes.
Rather than, because that's where the discord comes, and we feel uncomfortable here and you're trying to sort it out up here. But here you accept it here and feel comfortable here. Oh yes, it's quite a good change, isn't it? Makes life much more tolerable in every way. In fact, tolerable is the wrong word really, isn't it? Much more comfortable.
Yeah, but it's opened up more of a sense of like a sense of discovery or something like that.
That's right. You get along with things much more easily in every way. It's a sort of coming together rather than being apart. That's right.
Yeah.
Everything leads to that, this unification of all things coming together. That's good. Very good. And this isn't something seen overnight, it's something that's arisen over quite a bit of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quietly, gently, and sort of realisation dawning with it, but it doesn't require any understanding. That's an interesting point too. We realise things are as they are, whatever it may be, but where do we realise it? That's a good question, isn't it? It's not upstairs at all, is it?
No.
It lies within the feeling area. And that's not wholly physical. So in this sense we're beginning already to at least have one foot into the spirit side, while the other one's still in the earth side. Sort of straddling, as you might say.
Yes, that's quite an important point.
It is a very important point.
Because there's certain drugs and things that are becoming more popular in the world.
Yes.
Where people are sort of supposedly attaining some sort of spiritual insight, but I think they're losing one leg in this camp.
That's right, exactly. That's right, exactly. It's moving across from one to another, as you might say. Interesting observation. Very good. It's interesting too that as you're moving along, you come to realise too that you can't look for these things.
No.
They just appear quietly and gently, and could very well be not noticed. Thank you. This is the whole point about all this business, it's the intimate subtleties, and notice things which are already there but never noticed before. And of a nature which is not really manifest. Something called passing, and you notice it in the passing. So this is where we really get into so-called mindfulness. To be aware. Not to identify, but just to be aware. And you see, it's a very slow process, generally speaking. At the end of the day, a complete change takes place. One moves from thought world to a feeling world. So utterly different. As I say, it's a gradual, as the Buddha said, it's a gradual path. Well, it has to be, because whilst these things were there, they were always there. Now, whether it's this life or another life, they were always there. We're too busy looking at things in the world rather than to notice these things that are underlying it. And only when we begin to realise that we're not happy with things, of course we feel or don't feel we're very good, that we begin to change things. That's why it case as you go further along, it begins so you're going home, as you might say.
Yes.
You're not going astray. And it is going home, because it was already there. Goodness gracious me. Just as you're coming in now, any questions or things you'd like to talk about?
Put you on the spot, innit?
Before you forget.
Not pre-prepared, no.
And no doubt you will, this sound goes on. Either that or they'll be resolved, whichever way it goes.
Last Wednesday you mentioned that we could be a connection for others into the spiritual world.
That's right.
Could you say something about that?
Well, on the basis that we're all sharing already, whether we like it or not, usually the bad vibes rather than the good ones, we appreciate. Which proves the point that we do share these things. Then a similar thing applies in the opposite direction, you see. As you become more quiet and begin to appreciate things of a more quiet nature, as you might say, then all the chemistry cools down here, and it emanates out there. Consequently, other people begin to sense feelings and get drawn along like the vortex behind a truck. They don't really notice where it's coming from, but they begin to feel a little more at ease, as you might say.
Okay.
Initially. It's that sort of thing, so, and gradually, you see, if they notice the change, then of course they'll do things of a similar nature to contain that.
Right.
As you might say, and that's where the follow-up takes place. But I say, it's all a question, and this is why it is that groups are so much better than on one's own. Because you draw something from other people at the same time. It doesn't matter whether they're advanced or whether they're just beginners, they're still there, and they're making an effort in the right direction, which we all share anyway.
Okay.
So it's the natural process of all things. Everything's connected with everything else. There's nothing that isn't. And that's the bit we're so ignorant about. But when we look at the mechanisms that are taking place, as you might say, then you go, oh yes, what happens there happens here. One reaction there is here. Do I see that out there, or do I see it in here? They're quite spongy, aren't they? So he says nothing really. So if we look at the experience of anything, that's what I am. I'm the experience, not somebody having it. That's where the qualities of this or that become apparent. It can be a hard quality, it can be a soft quality, it can be an easy one, a comfortable one, or a hard. But the qualities are there, being observed all the time, rather than the thing, in feeling. The mind, so it sees it, different way of course, the thought mind. Always wants to identify this, that and something else and try to understand it. But there's no understanding ever, because everything is moving on. There's no complete set of information, because there's always the next bit coming on the next day, or the day after that maybe. Little boy, so how can you understand anything completely? It's impossible. But this is when everything is evolving, and this is why it makes it so difficult, as I said so many times. You know you've changed. You can look back over the years and see, more literally see where some changes have actually taken place, can't you? And you're a different person then. Is it not so?
Yes.
But the same thing common then and now, it was ordinary.
Yeah.
It makes you keep on the same thing right the way through. I'm not. I'm a changing entity, not one that is static. And that ordinariness makes it seem as though it's a static me that's going through. But it's been experienced a bit different. Every day's been different.
Yes.
Every hour's been different. When you really weigh it up. This is one of the trouble with identification of this situation, whatever it may be. It's all the same. But when you realise in actual fact, and take it down rather than its surface, look to its underlying aspect, you find it is always different. In every time it appears, it is different. In the same way, you're different to the person who was here yesterday or an hour ago. So is everything, every experience you have is also of the same nature. It's always brand new. You say, oh, it's old hat, I've seen it over and over again. But did you really, in detail, have a look at that? Then you find it's always something greatly different. It's always new in the moment. It's lazy to say it's old hat, I've already through it all before. I haven't, because it's brand new today. Only thing is, I didn't do with it properly in the first place. That's why it keeps coming in a different form that can be dealt with. That's why we need to be still at times, that we can then really take a look at things. Actually, they're not as they appear to be after all. And then you start looking a little deeper and see it's a constant change taking place in everything, including the one's own observation. Again, that's where it steps away from any form of trying to understand, because that's trying to stop the process. So a bit static, whereas it's constantly moving. Whereas the realization goes with the moving.
After Vesak on Sunday, we were sat here chatting, and the conversation came to this sense of warmth and well-being within.
Good.
And as being one of the most significant changes in terms of realisation of it.
That's what I say. It's not a thing you can deal with by thought.
No.
But actually by experiencing it for what it truly is. And then you see you're in a total different dimension altogether. That's why it's so important.
But it's such a sort of a subtle thing that...
It is. That is the whole point. It's the very subtlety that we're not used to. We're used to coarse things.
Yeah.
In that respect. And we've ignored, to a great extent, the consciousness itself. That brings up other things as well. But the nature of consciousness is in this aspect of alert to becoming whatever, if you might put it in that sense. It's not a cold, discerning thing at all, but a very warm aspect altogether, because it's the life essence itself as well.
Yes.
I'd like to add to this, the body itself, the physical body, and consciousness are so close together that when you see the body responds without a single thought. We agree with that, don't we?
Yes.
But there's something else about that. In the consciousness that knows, the body responds. Yes? So there's a great deal of clarity in that. But there's another little aspect of the body itself, a dullness. It can't of itself recognise the subtleties of the consciousness. is ignorant of it.
Mm.
And this is where thought comes in.
Mm.
Because thought is part of the mechanism of the body that thinks, is therefore untrue. Whereas the consciousness is always true.
Mm.
So the body is both the recipient of the consciousness and, through its denseness, the cause of its ignorance.
Mm. Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. Last week, just recalling the exercise that you remind us to do in terms of the hands, and
it's a useful one because in its mechanisms it reveals quite a bit of consciousness.
That's right. Yes.
And that's the thing we need to know about, because truly speaking, that is what we are.
Yes.
And as you begin to see it in operation, and without thought or idea, that's the whole point. And it's everything, all the time we're doing things consciously, but unconsciously in a thought sense.
Yes.
It's a funny world, isn't it? So the motivation behind this is purely to respond to whatever is needed and get it done. Without even thinking about it, it just does it. And that's why the body and the consciousness are one in that respect. So then when we start thinking about it, we go into the darkness of ignorance again. So trying to identify it, and you can't, because it's already past when you identify it. It's like, you see that, and then a moment later, oh yes, a couple sort of, but it's already past. You're on to something else already.
So through that observation, we're actually observing consciousness in action.
That's right. I mean, you drive and you see the pothole and you just... But you think about it, you'll be wobbling all over the place, overcompensating. I've got to go this way, I've got to go that way. But the body, it just responds to consciousness. So, I mean, it is the shadow of consciousness itself in one sense, but the basis of ignorance in the other. So it's two aspects of itself. The consciousness which knows all what to start with, it knows what's happening and how to handle it. And the ignorance saying, oh, we don't know, we can't manage this. And we've got to think about it before we do it. It's totally different altogether.
So that's why when you die and you lose your physical body,
when
you die and you lose your physical body, then there's only...
Well, yes, because in death takes place, there's a consciousness that moves on, but it doesn't think now, because it's not got a brain to think with. But it can. But the consciousness, to some degree, if we like to look at it as a kind of entity, which is the best way of dealing with it, then it's seeking to go back to its own roots, because that's the only place it will ever feel at home. So when death takes place, it's released from the body and its thoughts and consciousness. If for a moment or two it has time when it can assess its progression from its deepest aspect of ignorance to getting more fully open to see things as they are. And it's there to some degree, if it shows any progress at all, it will decide what's needed for the next step, because it knows it could have a few more steps to go, and to see what is a suitable birthplace to be born in. But if it doesn't have that progression, of course it'll just get born in willy-nilly. Whatever's available will be there. But when it has made any progress, it is a definite decision that is made into this area, this family, this society, and whatever it may be, it goes with it. And that can help out. But of course, as it begins to develop its thinking process through the body, of course, it forgets what it came from. But if it has any strength at all, it will pull it back on track. This is what's happening here. and perhaps to yourself. It won't let you go far away from the course you're following. So even in spite of your thinking, it can go all over the place, it can still keep you there. So therefore you've got some degree of progression in which you can be assured that it will follow it. Maybe it means maybe a couple more births, maybe this one, I don't know. But it will achieve its goal. It can't not once it's been aroused. And that's the assuring part about it. But then most people, when they have found a path that is suited to them, know very well that they're on a path that will take them there, even if it doesn't manage it this time.
Yes.
You already feel that. It's already known. But of course, the tricky bit is, once you have that sort of sense of direction, let it take its part. Don't decide where it's got to go.
Yes.
It knows where it wants to go, just follow it. Don't push it in any other direction. That's our trouble. We want to push things, make it a bit faster. You can't. We think we know better. That's been our problem all the time, right from the start. We know better, whereas the whole thing was perfect in the first place. But of course we think we know better. That's the basis of ignorance. That's what's led us into all these problems. I know better. You have to admit it at some point along the line. One of the things I found most helpful a long time ago, I sat me down one time and had to think about things, which direction to go, whatever. And I followed several different courses and tracked them out and thought, well, that's not where I want to be. And I asked myself, what did I want to be? And the answer came up, happy. Which was a fair one at that time. Of course, that's impossible anyway. But it was good enough at the time. And the next question is, what is happy as a quality, and who would be happy with it? And that would be a very big problem. And realised that this was a dimension which I was unfamiliar with. Very unfamiliar. And with all the knowledge I had about various things of the world, as you might say, I knew absolutely nothing about my own well-being. Absolutely ignorant. And I had to admit it. And you know, that was the best thing that ever happened. I'm totally ignorant of what is there. I've got an empty sheet. Now I can start to look without any, as you might say, biases from knowledge. And that was a good thing. Because it moved along from there, keep rejecting things, rejecting, until eventually it got to something it couldn't reject. That's how it all came about. To recognise the total ignorance. Total ignoramus. That was the marking point. And let's face it, what the trouble is all about. The basic ignorance of one's own being, which is consciousness, of course. So it gives you an opportunity to push you along in various ways in order to find it. But it already knows what it's not. And of course the big joke about it all, it was always there to be found in the first place, and we never knew it. And it's contained within this body. The key to it. It's already looking from my end of it now. But it's a difficult thing from your end. Because we've tried to think, and thinking is the be-all and end-all. And that is the biggest enemy of all, to some degree. That very gentle sense feel is the real key to it all. Somebody once called it the still small voice, and it very much is that.
Yes.
The still small voice, but it's not a voice, it's a feeling. I have to learn to go with it. And that's not an easy thing to do. Because it's on trust. And how can we trust anything? When you're desperate, you do. So when it comes down to it, and it's very obvious at the end of the day when you observe this, there isn't a thing you go for that doesn't produce some degree of stress. There's only the big cup of tea, there's a degree of stress, tension. And that's the very enemy, the tension. To be relaxed and open, and all the rest can be absorbed like a sponge. If it's squeezed tight, tension, it can't absorb anything. But let loose, it can absorb 2 or 3 times its own weight in water. Now our bodies are like that. Learn to relax it completely, and when you do that, you also relax your thinking and your emotions, because the 3 go together. If you do it whichever way, you can see if you can slow down the thought and your body will relax. But it's not so easy. If you let the body relax, it makes much easier with the 3 because it's the physical. And then it absorbs these things through the very senses. And so by really absorbing, you get realization and not thinking about or understanding. That's the truth, is it not? So we learn to be open and free, to absorb both from outwardly and inwardly at the same time. You see, this is a bad problem, whether you pray or meditate. Usually you get it wrong. Everybody does to start with anyway. But if you didn't get it wrong, you'd never get it right anyway. So at least it's a starting point. But we have to realise that when it's meditative or prior, as the case may be, it's to stop demanding.
Right.
And when we meditate, we're demanding a particular control over everything. And we don't. You've got to keep this target, and you've got to keep your mind there. Don't let it wander off, bring it back. Wander off, bring it back. Wander off, bring it. There's tension in making it do that. Let it relax into it. Then it'll see things differently. Comes a point where you have to do that, and not keep coming back. All it requires is the mind to be focused on whatever object it is. They come totally abstract, it doesn't really matter, as long as it's focused. Then what you find is that the demanding disappears. And the mind becomes open and can absorb things. Is it not true? That's what happens here. Your mind is focused on, you don't know what. You don't know what's coming next. I don't. How could you know? Good point, isn't it? I don't know what's coming next. Neither do you. But he's focused on it. And there you stop thinking, so now the mind is open for whatever comes in. To absorb. But it isn't just absorbed in thought, because it equates with the inner feelings as well, doesn't it? If anybody's fine, it doesn't. So it's touching into your experience as well. So you get a combination thought and experience which gives you a totally different view. That's what it's all about. And then to get your experience decide the kind of thinking that takes place. Not just the thinking demanding from the feeling.
So in a meditation practice where there is that focus and then one relaxes,
then things can happen. Things will arise or fall or not, as the case may be.
Yeah.
But it can well lead to an emptiness.
But what happens to the object?
It doesn't matter. It's not important. It was only a focus to get you focused.
Okay.
As you might say, it's the doorway to something else.
Right.
Once you've gone through the door, do you need the door?
Yeah.
So it has an importance until one learns to focus, or once one focuses, you don't need it anymore. I'm quite sure that you, like many others, don't need to focus on any particular thing. You can turn your mind just to be comfortable and begin to realise things just like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Without any form of practice. Yeah, that's right. So it should be. And that is the true practice, being more consciously aware.
Yes.
That's what it's all about, to be consciously aware. That's all. But of course, consciousness in itself has no opinions of anything whatsoever. It doesn't hold opinions. It is a quality. It's a quality to a degree. I mean, it's of nurturing, caring, of unification, of not of separation. Now that is total opposite to the thought one, which is always to deal with separation, this and that, and the relationship between this and that, whatever it may be. That's where it gets totally involved in things and taking it away from the observation that this is so what? It's possible. But people get so obsessed with this, you must either pray in one sense or meditate in another. And keep on doing. You don't need to when you reach a particular point. You don't need to meditate anymore because you live in a constant state of being consciously aware. And that is what it was driving at in the first place. So by going back to the practice, of course, you're losing your conscious mindfulness.
Right.
You get a bit of a joke at times, haven't it? The very thing that gets you to go from A to B, as you might say, will not take you from B to C.
Right.
But if you keep holding on, it will prevent you getting on to C. That's clinging to it, clinging to practice. That's one of the worst things. When we can get to a point the mind becomes reasonably still, we can direct it onto various aspects and begin to contemplate them. And from there we begin to see the nature of things beginning to emerge. And that will lead to a greater aspect of being more fully conscious of the actuality of the experience. So it's a step-by-step progression. But then in the consciousness, there is no effort whatsoever. Consciousness does it in its own right, through this body. So we have to become the passenger, not the driver anymore. might say, go along for the ride, become a back seat. And then you can observe consciousness taking charge. And until that happens, of course, that's what letting go is all about. This is where the relaxing takes place. Just to let it be, so it can absorb itself through all that it has. And its nature be seen. Any comments?
That change in the sense of well-being that I mentioned earlier.
Yes, a good one.
It seems that it's coming from down here.
That's right.
Moving up like that.
That's right. Now, the quality that is moving up is one that you never noticed particularly before.
No.
But it is one of nurturing, is it not?
Yes.
To help things to grow more healthily.
Yeah.
And as it comes up about this level, this is the mixing point where it meets up with concept, ideas, etc. And gets distorted in its normal sense. Because always the consciousness arises down here and all comes up in that purity, as you might say, then it gets sullied by these thoughts, because it's so powerful up here. But when the consciousness is more on that and you observe it rising like this, keep on doing so, and in fact it will flush the lot out.
Right. Okay.
And its own nature will prevail.
Right.
And now that's a much more healthy way of going about, isn't it? Because all this other rubbish is not at all healthy, is it?
No.
Not for one's own being or anybody else's.
No.
But when this fulfills itself in this sense of driving it all out, where does it go from there? Out there. There's no other place, because it's going to keep on flowing. It won't stay here, it just keeps flowing.
Yes.
It becomes an eternal flow, as you might say, as long as the body's with it, and it'll be there. And you have no option about going with it. Not that you want to. That's the sort of thing you're looking for in the first place, but didn't even know it.
Yes.
Didn't know it was so good. Goodness gracious me. But that's an excellent thing, just observe it, give it more time to observe it, that's all it needs. That gives it the power to push it on a bit further.
Right.
And the same, you give so much thought or attention to thinking, that's why that's been so powerful. Using some of that now to nurture this, give it more attention, it will grow and grow and grow, and it will grow fast. And shove the rest out eventually. And not be distorted. Can be related to cold, nice clean water being poured into muddy water.
Yes.
Eventually all the mud goes out and you've got clean water. It keeps on flowing.
Yes.
The same thing applies, you see. Physically terms and spiritual terms, the same thing applies. It's so simple. But of course it's something, all we now have to do is shift our point of attention from one area to another, that's right. And it will do it for itself. And you might think your own personal attention is the fertilizer for whatever it might be looking at. That's where you get the growth in thought, you get the growth in consciousness. If it's diverted in that direction. Goodness gracious. Any other comments anywhere about these things?
Yeah, Russ, just on what you've just been talking about, one of the things I've become aware of is there is that flow, yes.
It is, yeah.
But often it kind of hits, how can I say, sort of vestiges of aversion. Key people that I've had been in averse situations with.
Yes, right.
And there's a clinging. It's like there's this flow, and then these ideas. They're a very pale shadow of what they used to be.
That's right. Yeah.
But it seemed to be taking so long to dislodge.
Yes, but the point about it is, what you notice is the what you might say, the content of thought, as you might say, changes its values, doesn't it?
Generally, yeah.
In many ways, it becomes more soft, as you might say, rather than hard.
Certainly, but
if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But this feeling begins to change its hard viciousness into something soft and amenable.
Mm.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're saying eventually these...
Eventually, if you can maintain your attention to this flow and to recognise it for what it is, you'll eventually push all the rest out. It's already, to some degree, it's been changing the mode of thought.
Yeah.
From being totally selfish to a little more amenable. Is that not true?
In fact, what you come to see is the selfish thought is painful.
Yes, that is. That's right. Exactly.
That's what you see.
Exactly.
And
so one has more concern out there than one ever did before.
Yeah.
In other words, it didn't really matter out there, but now it does matter.
Mm.
Yes, that's right. So this all happened within this by virtue of the quality of this rising and changing that.
Mm.
And of course, as it does so, the emotion begins to get lessened. It doesn't have any force behind it to force anything. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah?
I can't work up a good anger anymore.
But you don't get tensed up about anything, woof, as you might have done previously.
Yeah.
It's more gentle, and like little push instead of a shove, as you might say. So this is the way it works, and the more you attention to give to this arising, this becoming, the nurturing, the loving, caring, which is wholesome, totally wholesome, pushes out that which is unwholesome. It's already showing it in your thought already, and your emotions. So let it keep going. That's the real practice. The very nature of consciousness itself, the supporter of life and perfection. Because you always get the arguments from people who've never experienced anything of this nature. It's all a matter of the thought. Your mind is all in your mind. It's imagination. It's not. It's something totally, utterly different, using a different dimension, which you can find out as you begin to experience it. You can make comparisons from one to another. That's why these things can't necessarily be taught. That has to be self-realised. You can't pass it on to somebody else unless it's already on the way. Mm. If they're open to receive it, then they'll catch on, but if they're not, they won't get a clue. To a degree, a bit like apprenticeships. You may not have wanted to get into it, but you do, because it's there to do. But as the years progress and you're learning the skill with the tools, as you might say, then you find you get a love for it. And you do, don't you? The same thing applies with this. Precisely the same thing. in a different field altogether. And of course, one of the snaggy little bits, but it's only a little bit, is the fact we keep seeing our faults. The fault on which we identify ourselves. As we move the badges, we accept them and they learn to let them go, then of course fixation of self disappears with it. So it's not really a problem. It's just uncomfortable in the moment, that's all. The point about it is that nobody at any time that I know of, anyone with any sort of wisdom, has ever said it's an easy path. It's not. It's a tough one to start with. Very tough indeed. It makes quite a bit of working up. And you're going to meet quite a few stumbling blocks on the way. That's to be expected. But, having got over the initial inertia, as you might say, and get things flowing, then it becomes easier. You might say, it's like climbing up a flipping great mountain. It's been tough going all the way, but when you're going downhill on the other side, it's not so bad. Doesn't require so much energy at all. Just a little more awareness of where you're putting your feet in case you fall over. That's all. So there we have it, starting. But only to expect, the only thing we can know is to experience it for ourselves. It is our own personal truth. You can't give it to anybody. You can show a way to it, yes. But unless it's done wholeheartedly, they'll not find it even that. A total commitment to this is required. But the beauty of it all is that if I start to practice on others in a better way, we begin already to get reward. Then to care for one another, if nothing else. To look for their well-being where possible. Then you begin to feel something changing within you. And they also appreciate whatever help you may give them. And this is where we begin to lose the total separation and gradually bring everything together as well. And it changes from caring to nurturing, nurturing to loving, and then loving to the wholeness of it. Then nothing is left out. Sense, the way it goes. That's the very nature of true consciousness. And the joke of it is that consciousness and the body have been so linked together that you've lost it, and it's so familiar you forget it's there. Our most little exercise is to observe these things, particularly with these hands, fingers. And you'd be amazed how much you can learn from them by just observing how they are. If it's only doing up buttons or tying shoelaces, use a knife and fork and things like that. You'll be surprised what you can learn from it. Then you see what consciousness really is. And the body responds immediately, as if it's the shadow of the thing itself. The manifestation of it. But of course, the snag about the body is it's got a brain and it thinks and it identifies things untruly. Whereas things are done absolutely truly, true consciousness, and there is the true experience, it can't be denied. Thought usually gets it wrong in some fashion or another and identifies it in a different quality, in a different dimension. And that creates a different dimension which is really false. So we create the world from our own imagination instead of seeing the real one which is there underlying it, particularly in these aspects of feeling. From the physical to the mental, refined areas, it's all there in consciousness. Experience it for what it is, and your appreciation of what life is will change. And you, sometime along the line, you find you haven't got a grasp with it either anymore. If anything, quite the opposite. It's thankful, thank goodness I can see it for what it is. Give me a freedom I never had before. Any comments? Nobody? Come on. Thoughts, ideas? Or haven't we got any at all?
I've got one. Just an observation, really, today. I was cycling.
Yes.
And I just got a really clear sense of everything else around me existing in silence.
Yes.
Just in stillness.
Ah, yes. Your mind being balanced, all things come together, yeah.
Like, there was me and the sort of...
Were you separate from everything else?
Yes and no.
Yeah, yes and no.
Yes
that's
and
right.
no.
That's right.
Like I was aware of all my thoughts.
I mean, when you look at your sort of things start to bring thought into it, then you're in a different field altogether. But in the actual experiencing, there's all the one.
It was just like I was watching everything.
But of course, when you get a little touch of this experiencing, the mind grasps at it, and it sort of identifies what's going on. It's not there anymore. But it's a good step. Yes, it can happen like that. I mean, there you have it. I don't know where you were going or what you were supposed to be doing, whatever, I don't know. You're riding a bike. You're going from A to B, presumably, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Who was riding the bike? You're aware of all this out here. Who's riding the bike?
There's two things riding the bike. There's the consciousness and there's me.
That's right, it is consciousness, isn't it? I mean, you see little things that just ease around them just like that, a little pothole or something, or a brick in the way, just no problem. Would it have been the same if you'd been thinking about it? That's a good question, isn't it? You see, consciousness is your best friend. It's there to help you all the time. Keeps you alive. But it can be all of this at the same time. Yeah. Because it's all part of consciousness. It's a good observation anyway. Very good observation. Neither this nor that. Now that's a very good one. Not I, not other than I. Yeah. See where it came from. Knowing full well it isn't necessarily me, but it's coming through me, and I'm seeing it. That's the difference. The same thing there. Consciousness is coming through and seeing it this way, and it's coming through me. yes, no, which one's which. It's very good. Good observation. Something's beginning to spark. Some sort of realisation, and it's beginning to form. That's good. I like to hear things like that. Little marks of progression, as you might say. And this is where we're becoming more conscious in the observing mind. You wouldn't have seen that just by direct thinking, but experiencing. That's a different thing. Very good indeed. There's a little sort of nuances of noticing that I'd hear about. Some little thing that doesn't appear to mean anything means an awful lot. Sometimes you think you're imagining things. You're not imagining, you're seeing clearly. This is one of the good things about it. In fact, when you come to think about it, you couldn't have imagined such a thing, could you? You couldn't, could you? So therefore it's not imagination, it's a reality. That's what we want to know about. Little moments of seeing a little more clearly. That's what we want to know about. But again, of course, it's beyond understanding anyway. You can't think about it. So you see, we do live in overlapping worlds, as you might say. One of two manifestations of physicality, and things that go on within it, and also of an underlying form of consciousness which sees things totally differently. That's the other side, the overlapping, as you might say, with another dimension. In everyday life, we live in different dimensions. Not just this overlapping one, this is something of a greater nature. But seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, they're all in separate manifest levels. Seeing can't hear or taste or touch, and neither can do it the other way around. They won't do that and they can't see either. So each one lives in its own level. But this is just another level of consciousness in a more subtle area, that's all. And there are many others apart from them. You see, when we look at qualities of being, and look at the worldly state for what it truly is, in worldly terms, there isn't much caring or humanity, is there? Quite the opposite. And yet, touching into these other overlapping dimensions, we can sense, feel for one another, have a bit of humanity creeping in. Now that's from a different level. It doesn't belong in this world. But fortunately we can touch into it because of these overlapping worlds. And our conscious lives in these overlapping worlds. So that we can, as a matter of begin to sense different natures of being and cultivate them for our own and of those around us benefit. You can't necessarily do it completely for yourself, but you can do it as much for us rather than me. It's interesting. And there's a point to consider. It's deep within your own nature. You can talk or argue with me if you like on this, I don't mind. But when it comes down to, shall we say, doing onerous tasks, for instance, Would you ask anybody to do as much as you do yourself?
No.
You wouldn't, would you?
No.
So you do have a little bit of feeling for the other one, don't you? Even if you don't recognise it. That's a point of pondering, isn't it? Why is that? I would drive myself further than I drive anybody else. That's a point to ponder, isn't it? And that comes naturally. It's as much feeling as it's thinking, isn't it? So we're touching on, bordering onto this other caring business. Underlying all this, we do care for them. Because they're part. Whether we like them or not, whether we're amenable or aggressive, they're all part of our experience, and without them we wouldn't be who we are, would we? So we can't deny that we're part of the world itself. The body's part of the world, it's built of the world's essence, etc. Of course it is. The salt of the earth, this body. So it's part of the world. It's engaged in part of the world. But only about 1% conscious of it. When we begin to awaken up the other 99% of the consciousness, we begin to say we don't really live in this physical world, we live in another world of feeling. And it's far more important to us than all the forms in the world. Change your dog, your cat, your brother, your sister, your husband, whatever it may be. You care for. You care for their well-being. That's not an earthly quality at all. What's an earthly quality? It's my possession, I'll do what I like with it. And you see that around too, don't you? Unfortunately. Not respectful, but possession. Now that's earthly. Then why do we act differently and see things with care and passion? Because we're touching into these other worlds. And we're using the qualities of those here in this world. The thing's problem. You see, we can't get our heads around what consciousness is. You can have it explained till you're red in the face, it still won't make much difference, but you have to try. It's the be all and end all. Without it there wouldn't be anything at all. There'd be no universe, there'd be no world, no people, no animals, no weather. It's the source of all things, the source of life itself. It is the life itself. And it is complete within itself, and that's the bit of a joke we can't see. It's complete within itself, and its essence is within everything it is created, because it's been an expression of itself. Whether it's a tree, a person, a cat, a dog, or an elephant. At its core, you have consciousness. But through its dullness and heaviness, it can't see this. And what we call consciousness, in fact, is identification of this and that. Now that is total ignorance, because it's not true. That all things are manifestation of the same thing. Whether it's that cup or this body, it's much hard to believe. But it's there. That source is the same thing manifest. That you can't get your head around now. But you can see it in the sense of becoming and moving on. Because that is what we're doing all the time. Our ignorance prevents us from seeing the truth. It's underlying everything. And we know that to be true to our own experience. Our own experience, in the sense. We meet situations, and instinct says do this, and head says do that, and you do that. How many times have you done that and said, I know I should have done the other thing? So instinct, which is consciousness, knows better. And we know that to be true because it's happened so many times in everybody's life. And we still take no notice of it. We don't catch it in the moment. It's a bit too fast, or we're too slow. We're always behind times. That's our trouble. We try to slow the world down so that we can see it more, but it can't because it moves on at the same speed. The eye see. How long did it take for the eye to see it before the mind says that's a cup?
It's instant.
There's a gap, isn't there? And also, with the time that is identified that's a cup, the mind's onto something else. The true conscious mind has moved on to something else. So you're looking at a historic thing and not a thing of the moment. That's thought, it's always way behind. Or taking huge leaps to a possible approach here, this doesn't exist. Making up things. Take a look at yourself as an individual. It's just a simple little exercise. And I ask you, yesterday, you had a day full of feelings. Today, is it the same? Are you the same person as you were yesterday? Or take it a month ago, or a year ago. It was completely different. Right sense of identification, emotional involvement. Emotional involvement. Little irritation here, bit of anger there, bit of couldn't care less somewhere else. Which one's me? Or the all me? They're all experiences taking place. But depending on the nature of those emotional aspects, depends whether you can see things clearly or not. With them in the weakest emotion, you can see reasonably clearly. But they get a bit heavier in emotion, you find you can't. You don't understand things anymore. You're out of step. True? And since we're continually rising and falling in these emotions through the day, some things we pick up accurately, many things we get wrong, and we act on them. Instead of taking time to dwell with them, get them right. That's why troubled days are troublesome. But when you look back through your life, every day through the number of years that you've lived has been ordinary to you, as and when it happened, as today is this very moment is quite ordinary now. Is it ordinary to what it was 2 hours ago? It was then, but it isn't now. So there's different qualities of being which are perfectly ordinary, and this may be the assumption that I was the same all the way through it all. It's only an assumption. I wasn't the same all the time. When I was angry, I was really angry. I got steamed up. And I did things I shouldn't have done, and I regretted afterward. Oh yes, I did. And things went savagely against, so one was rather brutal in chucking things away. Using your temper to do that. Things ceased up. So only now can I claim an identity that is stable. Previously it was very, very unstable and I couldn't pin it down anywhere at all. That's why I didn't know who I was. Or what I was. I don't know who I am now, but I know what I am. Anyway, I think we'll have a little break, shall we? I think it will be good for us all to have a little somewhat. Another volunteer too. Well done, well done. Well done indeed. Oh, yes. Oh, you're going with it, are you?
It's on your side.
Goodness gracious me. Whatever next? Are we not talking to one another again? It's an essential part of business now, for you to talk to one another. Try to explain yourself to one another. It's one thing thinking, because it goes round and round and round and round and round. You never get anywhere. But when you try to explain it to somebody else, it comes out then you're passive. Then you see things. Things come out on it. Goodness gracious me. You better put that corner down and somebody's going to trip on it. Thank you very much. This will never work. And that was a good one, whatever it was.
About falling asleep in meditation.
That's not a bad one either. It's a good thing to do at times.
So I've never been able to.
You've been too busy.
Yeah.
But to go to sleep while a group is meditating is perhaps a good thing at times. Not a bad thing. Or when somebody's talking about things. You absorb it better. And 2 or 3 days later you begin to be in it. 2 or 3 days later it surfaces in it. Oh, that was what it's all about.
So is it that you're taking it at a deeper level then?
Yes, it goes deeper.
So you're doing it better than the rest of
In a way, it's a bit like turning a different language, but putting a little recorder under the pillow while you sleep.
Yes. Yeah.
It's that sort of thing goes on.
There we are, you see.
You see, even while you're asleep, the consciousness is still alert. It takes it in. And experiences it. And therefore, a few days later, it sort of seeps it back into your consciousness. Your apparent consciousness. Don't be bothered about going to sleep, or anybody else going to sleep in those situations. It's probably a good thing. You probably could learn in that way that they couldn't perhaps in another. But the main thing about all this is the aspect of Sangha, brotherhood, sisterhood. You're all part of it. It doesn't mean just because you're you're in the Sangha and nobody else. And if anybody committed to these paths that lead to the release from this world are part and parcel of that. So there's one bloody great big family. That's why we to some degree need to look to one another in that respect, because it's as much giving out there that you receive from within yourself. You can do more for others than you can do for yourself. I think you'd agree with that. So as you give to others, the quality of what you give grows within you. So that's why it's so necessary to look to their well-being for my well-being. If I look to mind and reduce it, neglect them, it will cease to flow. There's nowhere to go to. It goes through us and out there from another dimension. Because it's not a worldly dimension. It's a spirit dimension. It comes from a different sphere altogether. And we can't claim it as a self because it won't work. But passing it through, yes, and we enjoy it as it passes through. So give more, give more, give more. That's the way you get more. You're sharing it as it goes. That's what sharing's all about. And you see, at the end of the day, the quality of that which is passing through is what you dissolve into, and that's what you become. That very quality, the embodiment of that quality is what you become. And of course, when death takes place of the body, you get the freedom that goes into the wholeness. At the point you consider, if perhaps in meditation you reach a point of nothingness and you could be there for an hour more, when you come round again, would you know you've been asleep or not? Point one. If you could recall the experience of it, then you might know the difference. There was nothing there. That's not sleep, that's being observant. But there was sleep zonked out now. I was totally unconscious, that's a different thing. Here's a point to ponder. The joke is, but perhaps you were fully conscious of nothing at all, and not sleep. Because there's something that's already happened in your life. Knowingly, at a different circumstance. You might have a paintbrush, in fact, a big wall like that, and you get absorbed in the doing. Maybe an hour and a half takes it to do it, and you sort of come into it, oh, I did enjoy that. Were you there? Or was the mind empty? Not noticing. That's quite fun, you see. So it's not something you do see nothing at times. If it doesn't think, it can be absorbed in the moment. Some of the things which you do in ordinary everyday life are very important to recognise in their true value and what they mean. But generally we feel unconscious, don't notice. First, I'm not being active, it's not really me. much. It's kind of you. Oh, jolly good, though. Just a little thing to consider. Meditatively, we're holding on to our target, as you might call it. Quite rightly, if the thoughts wander away, bring it back. Yes, quite rightly. But suppose we become aware of an itch somewhere in the body, follow it. Or a little discomfort, maybe where the foot is, where your backside, sitting on the seat, whatever it may be. Go with it. Don't bring it back. If necessary, change your position a little bit. This is being conscious. That's what we aim the boat is for, to be conscious and to respond to the consciousness. This is what the true meditation is about. Now consciousness is released, it's doing it so without thought. It's when thought wanders off as thought that we want to bring it back, not when the consciousness is aware of things of the body. And let it go wherever it wants within the body as far as that goes. Or elsewhere if it so wishes. It knows what it's doing. This is where you begin to see things aright in falling. But if you keep waking it back, it's never going to happen. You won't go any further. You're holding yourself back. The idea is to allow consciousness to take over itself, at least for that period of time, and not be interfered with by thought or idea. This is where we begin to appreciate the experiencing that takes place within the feeling area, because consciousness knows by feeling as much as anything else. And as a result of that, just dealing with physicality in the first place of being conscious of discomforts, which are now being put right, it may well move into more subtle areas of feeling which are not physical at all. And some neither within the body or without it, or outside of it, but a bit of both. There's a point to wonder. The reality is there, but the body is now becoming transparent. Not really a thing that holds anything at all, but a manifestation of qualities. It's the qualities we're dealing with now, not the manifestation. And this is where we're done. by experiencing it, knowing it. And that's the consciousness that knows. Not you or me in the term of identifying at all. Just a point to ponder, that's all. Where it's conscious of something of the body that is perhaps uncomfortable anywhere at all, let it go there. And follow it up, if necessary. Just sort of easily straight, if necessary. It's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Don't be rigid. Because the last thing we want is rigidity. We want relaxation. If you come aware of any rigidity then talk, relax it. This is one of the problems. You must have this flipping lotus position if necessary. Not necessary at all. The Buddha in his wisdom described attitudes of meditation: standing, walking, sitting, laying down, all of them.
Yes.
And everything in between. Not just the lotus position in particular. That's native ideas of people of the business. This is what it's got to be.
Is it your seat, Ken?
Obviously, if you can do it and balance it out, it's okay, by more well it means. But it's very difficult for most Europeans to do that because of the manner of babies. They're supposed to legs this way and not that way. In the East, they carry those kids swaddling around the waist, as you might say, straddled. They open the pelvis. But here we swaddle them up all close together. 6 kilometres of pelvis down the floor. So it makes it very difficult for you to achieve that position. Except for pain, really. It's not a good thing. Above all these things are a question of common sense. If you can do it with comfortably, that's the way to do it. Comfortably, not with any form of discomfort. Preferably. Because then you can get relaxation and absorption. You can't absorb anything when you're rigid. Just things to ponder, that's all. Simplicities. A good little exercise from time to time, and you can find time for it. You find time for something you're interested in, you find an hour or so if necessary. So you can find time always to do something you think. Sit yourself down somewhere and just relax. And let the thoughts subside. And begin to feel inwardly a sense of being within. Being? What's being? Try it and find out. You'll feel it. There's an energy thing there, in the centre somewhere. It's alive and but you never knew it was there. The source of your own energy, as you might say. Try and find it. But you have to relax in order to do it. Get away from thought to feel it. The sense of being. That doesn't take any great effort at all, does it? Just the sense of I've got time to do it. It's a subject we give very little time or thought for, or even practice. And it is one of the most essential of them all, to learn to relax a little bit. If you really relax the body to any great extent, you find your thoughts loosen up as well and emotion subsides, creating much better way to then contemplate things just easily. Simple as that. What is contemplation? Anybody know?
So like a gazing?
To bring the mind to, yes, by all means, by thought, by feeling, both. To bring something obscure into your own thought mind, as you might say. Hold it down and to endeavour to experience it for what it is. As you begin to experience it what it is, you'll know that's the result, truly speaking, of a true contemplation. But it means the kind of the thought process to hold steady for a little while, whatever the object or subject is, just to hold it there while you feel it and experience it. By the virtual experience that takes place, then you begin to see, oh, that's what it's all about. But you may not be able to understand it even then, but it's all help towards realization. By knowing, it doesn't need to carry it further as memory. It's quite fun. You can know without memory. If you have too much to remember, then you won't do much knowing, because there isn't room for it. Only with an empty mind can it be happen. So the ideal, to some degree, is to live in a perpetual state of knowing, without carrying a load of junk. To meet the moment as it arises and falls. Then we can be at peace with everything, inwardly and outwardly. Just little things to call in mind. Another word for it is pondering. It's much the same sort of thing. Pondering, contemplation is the same thing. But it's done in a sort of quiet, relaxed mode. You can't do it with tension. It can't happen that way. The mind's too busy. The thought mind is too busy. And attachment too busy. But here, without attachment, things can be virtually spread apart and seen for what they are. Like an imaginary clock, as you might say. You take it apart to look for time. You won't find it. Doesn't really matter. You know how the bits and pieces work together, that's all. Okay, that's fair enough. But you never find time. It's just a measurement of something abstract. That's how simply you contemplate things. Let them lay themselves out in bits and pieces. And the more they do that, the better you see more clearly the nature of what lies within them. Don't look at the shadow, look at the inners. Which takes me back to my pie crust of the world, doesn't it? You keep mucking about with the pie crust itself, it's a bit uninteresting, but when you look at the contents underneath, now that's something totally different. And you see, so that's what we're really looking for, the contents rather than the crust. The world is the crust, the materialisation is that crust, but the inner life we live in subtle feelings. Now that's the bit we've got to get to know. That's where the flavours and the aromas and the textures really live. That can be appreciated. And they're rising and falling all the time. And the strange thing about them is their qualities of being without any bias of any kind whatsoever. Now you can't identify anything at all in the world without having a bias of some sort. Is that not true? Strangely in experience there is no such thing as a bias. It is what it is, as it is. So when we live there, we're living in the world of truth, which takes a little bit of getting used to, because we live in the world of untruth for years. Takes a little readjusting to. That when we do, it gives us freedom we could never experience otherwise, because it can't be clung to, seen as and when it arrives and forms. That's all. That's the nature of realisation. It isn't carried forward as memory, but it makes a change. Its value is that it changed the attitude of seeing to a greater clarity. So it has to move on from a duller to a clearer attitude. So it's done its work. Are there any particular aspects that anybody particularly interested in that we need to sort out? Obviously not.
Occasionally there's like a burst of well-being. It's like an effervescence.
That's good.
It's quite spontaneous.
You can't make it happen.
Yeah.
Once an opening is made, it will arise. And usually it's very much affected by what is observed around you.
Mm.
So even if it's untoward, it is still there.
Mm.
In fact, more so. It's almost as though the things which are going on fine have a little less of it than things that take greater need, as you might say.
Mm.
Sort of springs to that, and it has that sort of connection. But the thing you notice is it's utterly selfless, because it's always flowing out.
Yes.
Flowing up in here, yes, by all means. But where does it go? It goes also out there as well. It can't not.
Yeah.
It's like this bulb here. From here, it spreads. It doesn't spread from here but here.
Yes.
So as the wider it is here, then you'll be more aware of it arising up here, but it's also going up there.
Mm.
And it's responding to what is out there through your senses.
Yeah.
And that separate from thinking or ideas. So that you could have a situation where you're seeing a situation out there in a particular person perhaps, which is rather untoward, and you might have a degree of condemnation in your mind. But at the same time, this flow of caring takes place from there. The contradiction in terms.
Yeah.
Basically, it can't change its nature, it's only that, and its growth, but there'll be a perfection in that. And you'll observe that once it's started, it will keep quietly rising. Not necessarily flooding, but rising gently, like filling a water tank, you know, if you're better water. But it's doing it efficiently for the first time, really, because previously you've had spontaneous aspects of it, but now it's becoming a steady thing, a filling up, as you might say. And as the further up it goes, the more it alters your mentality and emotions at the same time. To some degree, emotions begin to level off, flatten, become less active, and thoughts become more amenable in every way, to get to a point where you couldn't hate anything. Dislike may still be there, but not necessarily hate. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
It's strange, isn't it? It's like here we are, for the moment, we're in a neutral position. And you find you can't think of anything hateful, or anything we've got to get rid of particularly. Because this is the way, it's outside of the conditioned area. Now, obviously, this flow of upwards of the conscious quality is also unbiased and will keep flowing and change things as it goes. Even as, without even touching up here, it's altered its content to some degree. Attitudes. As it will flow further, it will push out all these opinions, ideas, of whatever they were in a mundane mode, will all disappear. And all you have is a flow of this wonderful level of nurturing, loving, caring. And it will flow right out in every direction. And virtually, thought to some degree will cease to some degree, but not wholly. What you'll find is that many of the previous senseless thoughts that arose will not arise. So you can have a thought, definite thought on this or that or something else, which you can deal with, and gaps before the next thought may arise on some other aspect, whatever it may be. So you don't direct thought, but a clarity of thought that you never have had before. But in between this thought and that thought, there may be an hour more. Then you live your life in association with the world around you as formless and not duality. It's an interesting one, isn't it? So now your world is changed from duality to completeness. But still think a little bit, because you still have the body attachment to things. The body is part of the world. It has to suffer the world. But the conscious doesn't have, it can be in a separate place, where it doesn't have to suffer these things. This is where it realises that when the body goes, I'll be free. But you don't wish the body to die yet. It's got to live itself out yet. And you're quite prepared to let it do that. Because that's the amenability. It's okay, that's fine. He's got his own life to live, and he's done a good job. I've learned a lot from it. And it's been useful to many other people at the same time, by being here, with its quality. So it becomes, as you might say, a conduit for this well-being aspect of love and caring from another realm into this. And by Jove, this guy needs it. So in this natural way, everything is perfect. Trouble is, we want unnatural. Thinking and ideas of changing everything where there was a perfection in the first place. Why do we want to follow it? Because we think we know better. But that's the greatest ignorance of all. Incidentally, there's one little thing about this. It occasionally comes to you when you begin to see things in a different way. I'm going mad. And you'll agree with that, won't you? Yeah. That is your safeguard. It's when you think you're intelligent and you know you're not mad. That's when you are mad. So it's perfectly normal to go with. Let's face it, the attitude of the world is completely and utterly mad. You show me any degree of intelligence or humanity in the world, I'll be glad to see it. It isn't there. You're beginning to sense it for yourselves now. A bit of humanity, of caring for one another. Does that make us mad when the whole rest of the world sees itself as sanity? Okay, if they like to see that, okay, then we are. On their terms. But on our terms, we see it differently. They've got to be the mad ones and we're the ones that have been fortunately found a way out of it. Just a point ponder, you know. Depends on your viewpoint, where you stand, where you put your feet down and say, well, this is a way of seeing things. Right? Put them in the right place and you see, I don't really care for that. I've got to stay going where I am. I don't have to suffer so much this way. So we went back to the Buddha's way. The world is one of suffering, uncaring. This is unsatisfactory. Now there's a good point to ponder. As you're coming out of it, could you necessarily say it was satisfactory? The answer is no. No point to ponder. It's not an opposite. It's different. What's the point, isn't it? It's only unsatisfactory because the conditions that produce unsatisfactoriness produce self. But where those conditions are removed, there isn't any self left, so therefore it can't be satisfactory. No one to be satisfied. Just freefall. So really, what we free ourselves from is self. But joke, isn't it? Become selfless. And nobody is, you might say. Well, you've got a body there, but I mean, there's nobody in it, put it that way. Bit of a joke, isn't it? This is everything about this is up the wall. The Buddhist with his Eightfold Path, write this, write that, write something else. Assuming there is something which is not right. Whereas everything is perfect in the first place. So how can there be rights and wrongs? Let's see. Right thought, right understanding, right motivation or energy. Hold on a minute. The only way you get to know is by not having any of those things at all. No force, no particular energy driving to anything, and no particular understanding, but realisation. It's a cockeyed world, isn't it? And yet this is the way out. Very funny, isn't it? What is it?
I think what's hard is knowing that it exists and
As long as
experiencing
in the world
and
you're going to
getting.
have misunderstandings. You're bound to have. As long as we cling to the attitude of the world. But when we begin to realise the straightforward honesty of realisation, that gives us a freedom from those aspects altogether. That would be very much more comfortable in every way, because there's nobody to be comfortable, but the conditions are not in any way prodding one to do anything else. One loses the world of conditioning. No, everything about the world we're living is that of conditioning. If it's only cloudy and sunshine, cloudy you're depressed, when the sun shines you're wetter and more elated. Well, there's a reason for that, of course. I mean, when the clouds are here, the air pressure is a bit heavier than it would be if it weren't there. So it's air pressure to something. The same as when the room gets more full, people go a bit slightly around the top. High tide, as you might say. When it gets down to an next to nothing, of course you get a more. This is very odd, this world. We're so conditioned to doing things that we can't realise the value of not doing them. Except in extreme circumstances. And the extreme being, if you keep banging your head on the wall, you're going to keep getting headaches. But if you stop doing it, you don't. But that's taken to it. But we don't notice the bits that led up to that. We're too concerned about thinking to deal with that. But when you come to weigh it up, it's only by our own actions that we produce these things anyway, and our own deliberation. And that is one of the problems that we have to overcome. And this is why we still have the same thing with many people who've meditated for years are still stuck with it. Clinging to the idea it must be this. Never letting it go and letting it happen. Whereas everything would arise and fall due to the nature of its being anyway. We don't have to promote it in any way. Merely observe it arise and fall, and you find the same things happen within this. Not of our own volition, but taking because it's there, and identifying ourselves with it when it is there. This is one of the things about learning to observe. And we realise how previously, through not observing, we cling to things. Our old friend anger, for instance. It's an old friend, we've had it so many times, and let's face it, it's an old friend, we're an old acquaintance. You pick it up from somebody else and the mind clings to it, and this is me because it means I'm a somebody, no, I'm a somebody, and you carry it joyfully by clinging to it and passing it along. Do you know?
Yeah.
There are many people don't have a real good bash, being angry with one another, because I'm everything wonderful, letting off steam, they call it. And they enjoy it. To a degree they are, because they cling to something, their idea of something. And whatever it is they experience, they cling to it. One of the worst things you can ever do, something may have made you irritated for some reason or another, and you grasp at it. Do you know, you virtually blame yourself for being irritated. You blame yourself for being that. It may last a week. Yeah? It's just clinging. It could be let go of in a second. It could be there, let it go in a second, if you recognise it. All of these things, if you only see them clearly for what they are, you can let them go immediately. That's what the freedom is, to live your own life now. You just take on board what you feel is useful to you, but leave out anything that is not useful. And we blame the world for our problems. It's what we put into the world is our problem. We don't put the right quality in, that's why we don't get the right quality out. With a little caring into the world, you find the world reflects it. Put anger in the world reflects it. Irritation, the world reflects it. All of these things. Hatred, the world reflects it. When do we ever put a bit of well-being into it for a change? Try it and see. This is what this is all about. Recognising this. As I act, so it's... This is what teaching is all about. As you act, so it will happen. Not necessarily what you do, but the quality of the doing. That's the thing that comes back. The quality of the doing. That's why it's so necessary to look to the well-being of those around you, because they're the ones that are reflecting it back to you. As you might say, give gold for copper. Give well-being for a load of rubbish. You have to realise and to recognise that every one of us has been so conditioned by the vibes of one another that we've never ever lived our own lives. But now's the time to pick it up. You can change it, but learn to reflect upon the better things rather than the worse. Now that's a simple thing to do. The worst will still be thrown at you from all around, but you do not have to accept them. Here you are sitting here, doing practically nothing at all except listening to some degree and sort of focusing on what might not happen. And you're free of those qualities. There's only one quality of person. A sense of being contented. That's all you need. To be contented. You don't have to have anything to irritate it and change it or rattle about. And to stay stable with it, if possible, as long as possible. And then you find you can begin to take control. Not accepting. Not being what I am. And if you make it last for an hour or two, every now and then, you'll be doing pretty well. And you can. It's a question. The only effort needed is to resist these things, not to make them useful in your life. Just to resist them, let them be. Let them fall away like water on a duck's back, let it float. You don't have to. See things in a much more light-hearted manner, so yes, there's a point. Light-hearted. Things don't hurt half as much. Oh, we know. So if you can be a little more light-hearted, sort of happy-go-lucky to some degree, but with it a little bit of clarity, then you find you don't have to pick any of these things up at all. It's more light-hearted, it's more buoyant. You don't get depression anymore. And you find it much more easy than to give than to take then. And in the giving. Now there's a point. Giving. What are we giving away? That's a point to consider, isn't it? You give a present to somebody you like, you care for. They'll like to have this, whatever it may be. It's only a token of your esteem, is it not? Yeah. So are you really giving a bit of yourself away? Becoming a little selfless? The more you give, the less there is to give. Maybe. The quality of the giving is all okay, yes, that's fine. But their selfishness begins to diminish as it goes along. So keep giving. And the troublesome one will disappear. The troublesome one being self. Me, I, you. Bit of a joke, isn't it?
On Sunday, after Vesak, we were having that conversation about the sense of well-being.
Well-being.
The particular point I just sort of threw a question about was that what was mentioned was that when the person first discovered that sense of well-being, it was so subtle that it could have been missed.
Yes.
So how does one, I suppose, assist somebody to have that realisation so that it's not missed?
Initially this arises all of its own under certain circumstances.
Right.
As you might say, spontaneously. Where it happens spontaneously, almost immediately after this moment of it happening, it might be a small creature that needs something, sort of there. And it's done spontaneously without any thought or idea at all, and then thought about it, fast at it, and it's disappeared now. It was me. Was it? But when it happens again and again, then you begin to experience it for its true nature, as you might say. And it lasts a little longer. This is not my nature at all. This is something other than me.
Yeah.
And it's very welcome, because I feel very content with it. And you do, don't you? Where's it coming from? I don't know. Of course you don't know. We've dismissed gods and things like that, and coming from God. No. You might say, oh, right, there's God. Where did it come from? And that's where it comes from, the source. So we have to assume the source that it's coming from. But we don't know this is wholly true. I can only speak in terms of my own experience in this. I don't know anything about book law or anybody else's, I only know my own. And in the subtle realization that this is a quality not of me, but of something greater than myself, far, far greater than myself, which I couldn't identify. I still can't identify it, I'll be honest. But I have realized that there is a source from which all things come, and it is that source. And it is the nature of that source which can never ever change. Over the years I've come to this, it's become so solid in that respect. I can't see it any other way.
Mm.
But it's a quality of being, or life quality itself. And this is the elusive bit. I am not this body, though in some fashion or other I am attached to it for some reason. Or maybe no reason at all, maybe through blind ignorance. But it's still attached to it. And by observing the body as such, I've come to see that what I consider to be me isn't me at all. It's merely a fantasy of thought.
Mm.
But my experience told me I'm of the quality of that source.
Mm.
But manifests an attachment to this minor quality of being, and it is a minor one. And the body as such, as I've explained before, works in two ways. One, in complete association with the consciousness, which is seen through eyes, nose, mouth, touch, ears, whatever, and responds to whatever is seen in an external form to meet, or even parts of its own activity in a similar fashion, by consciousness. And the other, the darkness of ignorance with thought, an association. It sees itself as a duality with other things. But it's the darkness of ignorance. It doesn't know why, or wherefore, or what. But in this other side, the source side, there's a great freedom. In the dark side, the world side, there's hell on earth. So the body, which is part of the earth itself, it doesn't necessarily suffer itself. Of course it doesn't, it's inert. But the consciousness that is applied to it, sense feels this.
Mm.
If you take the consciousness away, the body is absolutely inert. And yet on the other side, it's feeling, in the physical sense, senses the physicality of things. And its lighter side, it senses the nature of things underlying that. So the body is halfway between one thing and another. It's a very strange thing. Half of it's in light and the other half's in the darkness of ignorance. One half is free of it and the other half is suffering it. A strange phenomenon when you think about that.
Mm.
But since we cling so desperately, and that is the point, clinging so desperately to the manifest side, it clings to the ignorance. That's why I don't know. But when we, through chance perhaps, begin to experience initially through the body, of this caring, this nurturing thing that is spontaneous from time to time, which many of times has been lost. But when realised, there's a great quality here. Maybe sometime you can't cling to that. If you do, you lose it. It's like grabbing water. There's nothing there. It's squeezed out 3 fingers. But the same thing applies. You can't grasp with this. So we begin to see that this quality of grasping is the key thing that matters. It can grasp at things and situations arising from things and thoughts and ideas about things. All these things are tangible to its grasp. They come before the body. It was that brought us to birth. Which otherwise it wouldn't happen, except for grasping at another body. So it's something outside the body, but a grasping attitude. So this is the ignorance factor. There's something apparently that grasps at anything that is tangible enough to grasp. Now the quality of loving and nurturing is merely the sort of being. It's before grasping ever arose. Therefore can't be grasped at. It doesn't exist in the area of grasping. So grasping arises in the becoming manifest area. Whereas the life aspect was always there in the first place. And the clarity of consciousness was always there before this happened. It's very interesting. So we have a building up taking place of qualities becoming manifest. And as they do, it leads to grasp. This quality so needs to grasp to that one, and that one to that one, in order to create a body. So to create a body or anything manifest, it needs to clinging to take place for several elements to cling to one another in order to produce a body. So it's a necessary factor in these sense. But only in the sense, as we realise, truly speaking, that this is force. Perhaps we need it. And maybe it's a necessary factor. We're beginning to realise the true nature of that spirit. And as we begin to assume it more and more, then we get freedom from the earth. And when the body dies, eventually, of course, we don't have to come back to it anymore. So we're being joined, the greater spirit, rather than the lesser. That's what it's all about. And the consciousness as such already knows. It knows the way. It's our own decisions and decide whether we're going to go with it or not. But we're so used to hanging on to the earth, it's very difficult for us to appreciate the reality. We're so brainwashed to see it differently. Begin to achieve this by sense feeling, and you will achieve it. Understand it never, but achieve it, yes, you can. So there we have it. It's that simple. But it's so deep involved with the very source itself of spiritual, and not so much of physicality at all. That's merely because of clinging, that's all. But then as you begin to experience this upward rise within the body, this quality of loving, caring, and it is only love, only everything that is. When it's done its work, you'll just be a channel through which it flows into the world, to help those others who are just sort of wavering. It will be like a vortex of trucks going on while you're passing up your door on the street. It's not anything you do personally, it's the very nature of things, that's all. But all that. That's why we need to look after one another in that respect. It gives us that contact getting closer and closer until they get the wholeness of one. But then as you go along, you already know that to be true. But you can't explain it necessarily. There's so different. Any comments? It's a bit too profound to talk about, really, isn't it? Yeah, I know. You see, you're spiritual beings, you're not physical wonders. And all spirit beings merge into the oneness of everything eventually. But not just yet. So it's a slow progress. We're getting close all the time. And is that not the inner sense that we're all trying to seek, to become as one with everything else? Not to be separate anymore, not to be lonely. You see, it's there already. And you see, where we get little groups such as this, wherever they may be, they don't have to follow one particular way, because there's many different ways. But to realise the value of one another, in friendship, brotherhood, sisterhood, whatever way you like to put it, sangha, that's a good word. The value of that. Everyone helps everybody else, even if they don't know it. And appreciate that for what it is. So we're all servants to one another. And it's a whole. But we don't know it necessarily. But when you do realise it, it's a joyful thing. It's a medium thing as well. On which basis I'm going to call it that. The joy of being a medium servant.
Thank you, Russell.
Up today. We got it. Goodness gracious me.